You're now tuning in to Fatima Bey, the MindShifter. Get ready to shift your thinking and turn it into success.
Hello, and thank you for listening. Today, I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. So, some of you don't know this, but I've been working in the bridal industry for over 20 years now in different capacities. But I'm going to tell you a story about how I got started in one of those capacities. So, many years ago, I was working over at David's Bridal. I was there for a very long time. And I was a bridal consultant at the time, which means I was your go-to person for, the sales, helping the whole bridal party, etc. And I was doing very well in that position. Well, one day, there was an opening that popped up for the alteration manager because they finally were able to terminate the old one. And they were officially able to start hiring for that position. Well, my coworker, Christina, at the time, was giving me a ride home and telling me, hey, I heard that there's an opening for the alteration manager. You should really try for it. Well, let me tell you, I wouldn't have even thought of considering it if if Christina, who was a coworker at the time, but has since become a very good friend, if she hadn't made that suggestion to me, just a very small suggestion on a ride home, changed my life. Now, I thought about what she said. She said, you'd be great at it, blah, blah, blah. And all night long, I prayed over it. And I talked to God about it. Yes, I did. I always do when making major decisions. And he told me yes. And I said, what? But I'm not good enough for that. I have management background, but I would suck at that. I don't know enough about bridal sewing. I kept telling myself all the reasons why I was not adequate enough for that position. And then the next day, I didn't have enough courage. Confidence is maybe the word. Because it took courage for me to take it. So I didn't have enough confidence to directly go out and ask for the position to my boss the next day and say, I want this position. Now, in hindsight, I really could have done that and the results would have been the same. But I just casually mentioned to her in conversation, hey, you're looking for an alteration manager now? And she's like, yeah, we started talking and her eyes lit up like a light bulb went off in her head. She looked at me and she goes, you would be perfect in that position. You would be great in that position. You should do it, or something like that. And I looked at her like, really? You really want me? Long story short, I had to, be approved far beyond her head in order to get the position. Now, mind you, this at the time was a multi-million-dollar business, and I was being considered to run the most important and part of it. I wouldn't say the most important, well, just as important, a very crucial part of the business. So, long story short, she ended up telling me, and I found this hilarious. She ended up telling me, in essence, go ahead and take the sewing test and do the interview. And basically those are formalities. And she didn't care what they said. I was getting that position. You see, at the time, that department was a mess. It was primarily a mess for different reasons, but mostly because the alteration manager had been out for a while. So it just was a mess back there. And she needed somebody to go there and clean it up, with a strong arm, and get things done. So that she thought I'd be great for that because that is how I am. Well, I did become an alteration manager. That experience was something that I didn't realize at the time would change my entire life. You see, fast forward to the future. I eventually started my own bridal sewing business. Well, I just started sewing business, and then I got back into bridal. Eventually, I got back into bridal. I worked out of my home. I turned a room in my house into a sewing room. And then I moved into a different house and converted the garage. The garage was converted for me into a shop. And then I went from there to an more official place of building in a professional building somewhere else. And I was there for years. Until the pandemic, actually. During this time, I have become noted as a master seamstress. We have a local fashion edition institute, a local fashion school, and I'm an advisor with that fashion school. I would not be an advisor if it wasn't for my bridal sewing business called Abishai. If it wasn't for Abishai, I wouldn't be known to be there. As Abishai, I have won both national and several national and international awards. I have been on the cover of a magazine. I have been featured on TV, on NBC. I have been featured on a few different podcasts, all because of Abishai. Now, you are listening to me right now in part because of Abishai, because of what Abishai did for building me. There would not be an Abishai if I hadn't first been the alteration manager at David's Bridal. Now, I'm telling you all of this not because I'm so awesome and I want you to praise how awesome I am. Not to the contrary, actually. I'm telling you all of this because I'm talking to somebody out there right now. I don't know who, but it's probably you. Sometimes it's those things that we're scared of, that we feel we are inadequate for, that are the very things that will launch you into your next success. David's Bridal. My God, let me tell you, that position as the alteration manager at David's Bridal was one of the most challenging things I ever did in my entire life. It was hard. I mean hard. I loved it. I loved the brides. I loved working with people. I loved working with wedding gowns. I absolutely loved my job. But I also hated it. I hated parts of it. It was stressful. You have stress coming from corporate, stress coming from the seamstresses, pressure from your boss, and then you add the pressure from the customers. I had it every which way. But you know what? Diamonds are only made under pressure. Diamonds don't get made by, floating in a pool and getting fed bonbons and just, relaxing and making everything cool. That's not how diamonds are made. It was rough. I had days where it almost made me cry being there. I felt like a failure so often. I felt, even while I was in the position, felt like I was too stupid to do my job. But you know what? I kept on moving. I kept doing it. And I just knew within me that I had to be in that position, and I didn't understand why. I understand why now, at least mostly. Hey, there's probably parts that I'll understand later, maybe, but I understand primarily why I was there. What that did for me, and I didn't realize I was being built at that time. It made me stronger. It made me better for handling situations. Let me tell you, a bridal shop, if you ever want to learn how to deal with stress in a second, in your face, at the moment, work in a bridal shop. Work with some stressed out brides who are in their face because it's 10 minutes for their wedding. Okay, maybe not 10 minutes, but maybe a couple weeks before their wedding. And they're stressed out because a pearl came off the dress or something simple like that. Most of the time they're stressed out because of other things, but they take it out on whoever they're near. So you're dealing with stressed out people who are in your face. And it's not like you have to think on your feet. You can't just walk away and take care of it later. You got to deal with this person right now who's in your face, calm them down, get them satisfied, and get them out the door. I did that on a regular basis for years. It just became such a part of me. I'm grateful for it because that training has helped me in so many other ways. And let me tell you, if I had not done that, I would never have become the master seamstress that I am now. If you told me years ago that I would become a master seamstress, I would have been like, oh, what are you smoking? It must be really special. Because there's no way that Fatima, that I would become a master seamstress, that I would be teaching others how to sew wedding gowns, that I would be awarded across the nation, chosen. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's me. But it took me a long time to even accept that. Even as I was getting all these accolades and awards, you can go online and find a ton of reviews. Even as all that was happening, I still couldn't believe it. Now, my point in telling you my little story there is that some of you right now listening, and again, I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's probably you. Some of you right now are facing an opportunity, but you're not seeing it as an opportunity. You're seeing it as something to fear. You're getting ready to start a church, start a ministry, open a school, start a business, create something new in your office, create something new in the business you work for. Whatever it is, the thing that you're scared of is probably the very thing that'll launch you into your next success. And if you haven't had any successes before, your first success. If it wasn't for my time at David's Bridal, I wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't be listening to my voice. You wouldn't know my name. It created a lot of things within me. It built a lot of things, too many to name here, within me. Professional level sewing of wedding gowns. You can't get any harder than that. And I mastered it, which I never thought I would do. But I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't taken that position that I was scared as hell of. I was like, I do not know what I'm doing. Are you kidding me? But regardless of fear, regardless of lack of confidence, I did it anyway. And look where it brought me. That thing that you're looking to do, that you're considering, and if it scares you because you feel like you're inadequate, go for it. You're not alone. And I know now that I'm not alone in how I felt. Most of us, especially if you are great, you're going to feel inadequate. It doesn't mean that you are. It makes you normal, honestly. You're like, yeah, but they don't know how much I suck. You don't suck. You're just in training for greatness. And that's what I didn't recognize when I first took on that position at David's Bridal. I was in training for greatness. Don't miss out on your opportunity for your training for your greatness. Take that chance. And no matter how hard the struggles are, and there will be some, just because it's for you doesn't mean it's going to be perfect and butterflies and rainbows. It means that it'll build you so you can hit your next level. Go for it. I did. It's why you're listening to me now. You've been listening to Fatima Bey, the MindShifter. If you have any comments, suggestions or questions, please email me at radio@fatimabey.com. That's radio at FATIMABEY.com. Thank you for listening.
Tune in next week for another segment of Fatima Bey, the MindShifter. For more of her teachings, subscribe to her YouTube channel at Fatima Bey, the MindShifter.